Whatever happened to College Humor? After nearly going out of business just 4 years ago, the 25-year-old comedy brand changed its name, grew up, and started turning a profit. I'm Josh Christensen, co-host of the Most Innovative Companies podcast. Today I'm in Los Angeles talking to Sam Reich, the CEO and owner of Dropout. Sam and I sat down at Dropout Studios to discuss their business model, commitment to workplace equity, and what's next for the production company and streamer. Sam, thanks so much for joining me and welcoming us to your beautiful green room.
Thank you so much for doing this. You are trapped in here.
Well, if you watch Game Changer enough, you probably have people walking in here always expecting to become part of a Game Changer episode.
I cannot close the door with Brennan in this room.
Back in 2020, in January, your former parent company, IAC, owned CollegeHumor, but in January 2020, dropped CollegeHumor. Take me back to that time.
Sure.
Were you surprised by this? Did you know it was coming?
I'll risk wasting your time by giving you a little bit of context, right? IAC bought CollegeHumor in 2006. CollegeHumor was bought for a rumored $30 million. The goal was to turn it into a company worth $300 million. And throughout my tenure at the company, which was 2006 to 2020, and throughout my, I think, 9 bosses, there was always a get-rich-quick scheme of the time. It was ad sales. When social media took over ad sales, it became briefly television, which I was also a big part of trying to make happen. And they started talking about dumping us. And I say that like a relationship because it felt that way. I remember someone at IAC asking our then CEO, Rich Cusick, what he thought the company was worth. And him giving them a number and them being like, well, I'd take that in a heartbeat. And I went, uh-oh. The higher-ups at our company at CollegeHumor started fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. So we lost our CMO, our Chief Marketing Officer, after the meeting, like immediately after the meeting, where IAC said they were going to dump us. We lost our CEO, who, by the way, I adore. He also fled very, very quickly.
So what kept you around?
Yeah, I think a sense of loyalty to the staff, honestly. The thought was like, well, if we could do this, if we could sell the company, we would save jobs that way.
I don't know if you've noticed or heard what Trap's been saying for weeks and weeks, but we're not doing well. We don't have any money.
Well, I guess I just didn't realize how serious it was.
No money means no company.
The problem was we had invested a lot of money in subscription.
Right.
On paper, the business plan that we had in place had us spending $10 million before we flipped profitable. So that was a business plan that we were putting in front of potential buyers. Not only buy the company, but sign up for a $10 million loss before you start making money.
After IAC officially dropped you, what happens? I know you cut staff immediately, but you buy the company.
15 interested buyers drop out one by one. It comes down to me and one other potential buyer. IAC decides to go for my unique deal. It takes us something like 3 months to sign an agreement between each other. They lay everyone off except for 7 people that I pled them to keep in January. We don't sign our deal until March, 2 days before lockdown here in LA.
So great timing.
The best.
And really at that point, you're basically with a little bit of a head start with some brand identity and like at least some semblance of the subscriber base, but essentially you're founding a new company. To that point, CollegeHumor had only been occasionally profitable in its history and was not profitable at the time, which obviously influenced IAC's decision. But you set out on a path to build a business, no corporate money, no advertising, which was one of the major revenue centers for CollegeHumor.
So when you you're really interested in turning profitable quickly, you want to cut off entire sources of revenue.
Yeah,
that
just
makes a lot of sense
drop them
strategically.
over. You also cut off branded content
Yeah.
at that point as well. So you went all in on streaming.
Yeah.
How did you get to profitable?
We were profitable the moment we began by a small margin because there were so much less people working for College Humor, and we weren't spending much money.
You had a little over 100 people at that point?
We had something like 105 people before the layoffs. We went down to 7. I mean, this was like it wasn't even a skeleton of the company it was before.
Yeah.
It was like a toe bone. The problem was, how do we grow from this little seedling of a company now in a way that's slow and responsible and sustainable, in a way where we're protecting profit margin?
You think about growth a little bit differently than a lot of companies. I think there's a lot of business magazines out there, occasionally ours included, I will throw us in there, that fetishize growth for growth's sake at
Yes.
some point.
Yes.
How do you think about growth as a business?
Part of the benefit that we have is the way that we're set up as a company, meaning we're now a private company. IAC obviously still owns a percentage of the company, and they're a public company. We have a product, we go direct to market with it, and we reap the result of that from our audience base in the form of monthly subscriptions. Full stop. Like it could not be simpler on paper. And because we're not in the meta sport of growing this business, we can be very slow and responsible and reasonable about it. We always forecast super conservatively, just meaning we don't guess that we're going to be very successful and then spend against that guessing.
Helps to be self-deprecating at times, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
I want to jump in a little bit
please.
more around generating revenue. It's about 80 to 85% of your business is coming from streaming subs. You mentioned to me about 10% is from merch. I imagine the rest is sort of some miscellaneous...
Black market organ sales.
Yeah, that exactly. What other revenue streams? I know you're not doing digital advertising again,
Sure.
and you're not doing that. You're not taking corporate money,
Yeah.
At least not anytime soon, or maybe ever. What other revenue streams outside of your streaming service are you hoping to grow as a larger part of your business? Nothing. Okay.
Merch, I think, is super interesting. I think that there's experiments that we'd love to do in merch along the lines of like, we'd love to break out into video games at some point. We'd love to try our hand at a card game, like a Cards Against Humanity or an Exploding Kittens. Live, we do not see as a money-making opportunity at all. We certainly could, but the way that we look at live is way more marketing content, in the sense that we are taping these shows and putting them on the platform,
Right.
and an opportunity for the talent.
Yeah.
Like we're not really interested in levering live for profitability's sake. We are really 90% focused on growing the platform. And that focus so far has paid off.
So the
Yeah.
question is, after all of that context, how big is too big for Dropout?
First of all, I watch a huge amount of content on streaming. I'm obsessed with TV, and I love scripted premium content. I do think there's a way in which this kind of era of like hyper premium content has created a reactionary market where folks are really interested in stuff that feels a little bit more garage bandy and authentic. Or a small player can come in and be disruptive because a big player can't adopt their business model without disrupting their existing business model.
When people are saying that, like, oh, you can't make comedy anymore,
Yeah.
you're doing silly, ridiculous comedy and not punching down,
Yeah.
not hemming and hawing over what you can or can't say.
Sure.
Is that just based on your values and the values of the people? Like, how much do you think about this in terms of your place?
Probably less than people would imagine. There are some really basic values under what Dropout is, like being kind and respectful to people and appreciating their work. We get the feedback a lot that folks feel like watching our content on the Dropout platform in general is a safe space, when all we are is like very decent, you know? Now, Are there other progressive politics going on here? There absolutely are. I mean, like, Brennan is such a sort of devout anti-capitalist, and that messaging is all throughout Dimension 20.
If Brennan's the DM, the bad guy is capitalism. And I don't know how the bad guy is capitalism in Fairy Tale Land, but I am confident that he will have found a way.
Our individual voices are certainly popping up here and there. At the end of a Game Changer episode, I had a lever where my players unionized against me, and I celebrated it. But at its core, I think, is just decency. And then it surprises me that the bar is so low everywhere else.
Ultimately, the question is about valuing workers and building that into your company culture and how you've made that commitment.
I do think it helps that all of us now, business partners of the company, executives in the company, we're all of us creative people who make things ourselves. And so we really do value these contributions. There's always this sort of like chasm of appreciation that happens when you have people who don't come from this world or make stuff, who come and see what we do, meaning comedic performance or whatever it is, writing, improvising, as like hanging out or flippant work between the people who actually make the stuff and know what that means, like how precious this stuff feels, how valuable our time has to be in order for us to like treat ourselves in this career seriously. So I think it just comes from a place of respecting the craft.
For more from my conversation with Sam and some special other interviews, subscribe to Most Innovative Companies on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or wherever you listen.